Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. As usual, I'll be giving just a couple of minutes to allow you guys to come in before we start the business of the day. But even as you guys keep coming in, just want to say a shout out to each and every one of you. How have you guys been? How is the weather treating each and every one of you? Happy new month. This is the third month of the year. Just like yesterday, we were in January 1st, 2023, and today we are in March 1st, 2023. The year is just moving, running as fast as most of us least expected. Those at work, how has work been going through? Those on break, those working at home remotely, hope it's been fun. And those caught up in traffic, hope the traffic is flowing gradually. Today is a good day. Just sit tight and flow according to what we have for you. I promise it's going to be awesome because Sheila always hits the nail. And of course, I can see a couple of names, familiar names on my attendees list. We always appreciate you guys for keep tuning in into our programs. I can see quite a number on my attendees list. Since we're working with time is of essence to us. I guess I will just take it off from here, even as more people join us for the event. Like I said a few minutes ago, good afternoon and welcome. For those of you guys that are joining us for the first time, my name is Gagba Esahaya, and I'm a training coordinator of the Temple Small Business Development Center. The Temple Small Business Development Center helps small business start and grow. We offer free one-on-one consulting and a variety of low to no cost webinars. We are part of the nationally accredited network of the Small Business Development Centers, which has over 1,000 networks across the United States. We are here this afternoon for a webinar on WordPress for beginners. One, getting started. A copy of the PowerPoint and the link to the recording will be sent to all the attendees. Being a webinar, all the attendees have been muted. However, we always encourage you guys to drop your questions on the Q&A or the chat box. Without further ado, please allow me to welcome my wonderful presenter, even as she takes over the floor for the presentation. Sheila, you're welcome.
Thank you, Barbara. Welcome, everyone, to WordPress for Beginners, getting started. Appreciate you all joining us today. Today's webinar is being put on by Temple University's Small Business Development Center, hosted by Temple's Fox School of Business, which has been serving the small business community of Philadelphia, Eastern Montgomery, and Lower Bucks counties since 1983. Our mission is to provide entrepreneurs and business owners the knowledge needed to make smart business decisions and to prosper. I'm Sheila Bishop, a business consultant with the SBDC. I have more than 35 years of IT experience, kind of across the board. My last job before starting with the SBDC was I was the Vice President of Monitoring Services Operations at Bank of America. I have a BA in Computer Science from Temple University, and I'm a dog person and an inveterate knitter. Today, we're going to go over planning your WordPress site. How to get your content together, planning your site, hosting, WordPress versus WordPress.org, creating your site, dashboard and menus, creating pages, and creating posts. So the first topic I like to go over is content, because it really is the most important topic for putting together your website, regardless of what content management system you use, or if you build it yourself, or you have someone else build it for you. It tells the story of your brand and connects to your customer. You need to write compelling copy, use engaging images, and show your products to their best advantages. Avoid dense text, right? Because people do not interact with a website the same way they do with a magazine or a book. They scan a website, right? So generally speaking, based on research, following people's eye patterns, they usually scan a website either in an F pattern, which is like across the top, down the side, and kind of right in the middle, or a Z pattern, right? So think about that when you're building your website and putting your content in where people are going to put their eyes. And also, oops, sorry. And also think about the valued keywords that your audience is searching for when you're talking about your products or your services or your company. And it's much easier to build them in when you're creating your website or creating your pages than trying to go back and retrofit them, right? It's also important to do quality control for your sites, just like you would for your products or your services. Really focus on the grammar, avoiding jargon, making sure your spelling is correct, and that your content has readability, it flows from one topic to the other, flows from one sentence to the other. And that you have an effective call to action. So once you've engaged your customers, you've pulled them in, you've made them interested in your services, you've made them interested in your products, that you're telling them what the next step is, right? So you've made them interested in your dog walking service. Make it right there that, tell them to click here to sign up, click here to get on my mailing list, right? You want to give them the next step to engage with your business. So what pages do you need to build content for? Well, some of the most fundamental pages that you would need are your home page, which would be an engaging landing site, an About Us page, especially when you're a small business. There's a reason people choose small businesses as opposed to a big box store or the main or the national brand. They want to feel connected to you. So along with describing your products and your services, they also want to hear a little bit about your story. What makes your business different than all the other businesses out there? They want to feel connected to what they're buying, connected to you a little. So think about all of those when you're writing your About Us. Your services, you need to be clear about what you're offering. Don't leave it open-ended, right? Again, put that call to action. Now that you know about my services, what's the next step that they need to take? How do they engage you? And the more information that you give them about your services and how you're differentiating in the marketplace, the better. You also want to have testimonials, right, which are different than reviews. Anybody can leave a review, whether they've used the product or not. Testimonials are curated by you. They're something that you've said, yes, this is typical of how a customer is dealing with my business. And they help turn somebody who's looking at your site into somebody who might be shopping at your site. And there's been studies that show people will be more likely to buy a product where somebody else has put a review or a testimonial, even if it's not a super positive review, which is interesting, right? Okay, so now you have your content together. So how are you going to lay it out, right? So that's the next step. And a good way to think about this is to look for an inspirational site, a site that you really like, one that you find engaging, that may be in the same kind of industry that you're in, or maybe in a similar industry, and then analyze what you like about that site and even what you don't like about that site. What about the readability of that inspirational site? What drew you into that site? What does the tone of the website say to you? What are the features that you liked? What about the layout worked for you and what didn't work for you? And it's also a good time to think about the colors for your site, right? Your logo is probably a good place to start. But if you have a very bright logo, like with very strong colors, or you have a very pale logo, it may not be the best for your background color or your text color. You may want instead to use complementary colors to your logo so that people with poor vision can still read your site and still kind of interact with it in a pleasant way. And the other advice I would really give is to get your content together before you start building your site, right? It's really, really exciting, I know, to get your website up and running and start putting content on there, but it's much easier to make changes on paper and lay it out on paper, right? So even if you get 70% of the way there, you're going to save yourself time in the long run, right? Because you're not going to build a page and then later determine you don't want that page and then maybe not delete it all the way and end up with a broken link on your page. It's much easier to kind of get it all laid out, create a hierarchy so you have an idea of what you're looking for, determine how your site will work out. It'll also make it easier to pick your theme because you'll have an idea of how you want it to look, an idea of what colors you want. And then it'll be easier to pick a theme that matches that than to just start looking at there's like 10,000 WordPress themes. It's much easier to go in with an idea of what you're hoping your website looks like than just to start looking through all those WordPress themes. It can be a little overwhelming. So like I said, you can have a simple hierarchy, or if you have like a shop, it might be a more embedded hierarchy. And if you have, you could, probably more complicated than this if you have subcategories of products. So now that you have your content and you have thought about your layout, now's the time to think, where is that going to live? Where am I going to build my website? So now's the time to start getting your domain name and your hosting. And you might be thinking, well, what's the difference between my domain name and my hosting? Aren't they the same? And they're not really the same, right? Your domain name is your address of the website that allows people to access your site, and your web hosting is the physical files that make up where your website is stored. So a way to think about this is that the domain name is your address to your house, and the web hosting is the house. But you're probably used to thinking of those two things as the same, like your address and your house being the same. But I always say, I used to really enjoy the show called Texas Flip and Move, where these people would buy the house, but not the property, and then they would hook it up on a truck and they drag the house away, right? So the house and the address weren't the same, right? Because they could pick the house up and move it. The address stayed there, the house moved away, right? A less dramatic thing might be when like a city comes through and renames a street, right? So now your house hasn't changed, but your address has changed. So that's kind of the same with a website. The hosting, where the physical files are located, is not the same as the address to get there. So how the flow usually works is you get your domain name, you get your hosting, you associate your domain to your hosting, you install WordPress, and then you build your site. You can very often get your domain name from your hosting site. Some of the benefits of doing this is it's one company, it's one step, and then you generally can skip the step where you have to associate your domain to your hosting. The con is that if you've done everything with one company, so if you get hacked, both your domain and your hosting are compromised. Another issue is if you want to change hosting platforms, you then have to move your domain, and the hosting company that you got the domain from may have rules like you needed to have stayed there 6 months before you can move your domain name. They may charge you extra now for the domain name to be able to move it, things like that. When you go to install WordPress, most large WordPress hosting platforms have a one-step or one-button WordPress installation. And we'll see this later when we're creating the next demo, we're going to create a new WordPress site on Bluehost, and we'll see this sort of one-button install process. If your hosting does not have that, then generally what you need to do is go to wordpress.org, get the install files, and there'll be directions on how to do the install. It just makes it a little bit more complicated. So WordPress isn't the only content management system out there, right? There's many popular hosting platforms. And when you get this presentation, I've embedded a file here that talks a little bit about the most popular ones, some of the benefits of each, and the costing of each. Now the costing changes pretty much monthly. They run different sales, and different e-commerce packages go up and down, and the hosting for WordPress goes up and down. So you do need to check. This is kind of a point in time of the cost, and is meant to just be able to, for you can see kind of the comparison. And there's different reasons to choose different tools, right? Like Wix is easy to learn, and it's really good if you're just kind of have a business to business site where you're not necessarily going to be doing e-commerce, and it's a kind of a low overhead site where you maybe want to do a blog, but not a very heavily invested site. If you're really just focusing on products and products alone, Shopify might be the solution for you. It's a little more expensive than a lot of the other sites, but it really focuses on like shipping options and product options. But the nice thing about WordPress is it's an open source solution, which means it's not tied to a single company. So other people can create code for WordPress and make it available to the larger community. So it's very flexible, and it's easily extendable, with themes and plugins. So there's e-commerce solutions, there's security solutions, there's scheduling solutions, there's wholesale solutions that other companies have created around the WordPress content management system. Now, what makes it also a little interesting is that there's two different WordPress options. There's WordPress.com and WordPress.org. Now, the gentleman who initially kind of created the whole WordPress.org world went on to create a company that's WordPress.com, where he took kind of the software from WordPress.org and made it a whole content management offering like Wix or Shopify, where it's all embedded hosting and content management system in one. And so it has some of the benefits and drawbacks of those, right? It has limited functionality and customization because it's not that open source environment. It is being controlled by one company, but it is kind of suited for beginners because it does have more controls around it. It's all in one, and it hosts your website. And you can buy tiers to upgrade. So if you buy like the business plan, which is more expensive, you can then have plugins and extra themes. But the WordPress.org is the advanced solution, which requires you to get a hosting platform, but allows the wider range of functionality and customization. Now, the nice thing about WordPress.com is, though, that there is a free option, again, with limited functionality, but it's a good place to get in and start learning, right? So if you go to WordPress.com/free, you can see how to get a free site, and again, get in there and start learning how to use WordPress. Okay, so we're going to do a demo on creating your WordPress site, but I see there's some comments in the chat window, so we can take a look at those first. And if anybody has a question about what we went over so far, now is a good time to go through them. Can you go from a .com to a .org after you learn it? If you mean, can you move the site? It's not tremendously easy to just move the site from .com to .org. But you certainly can take what you've learned and move it from one to the other. It is a little bit different. The menus will look slightly different in the .com version than the .org version. Okay, any other questions so far? If not, we'll go ahead and start the demo. Okay, so this is my Bluehost hosting site. And when you want to create a new site, you just go here and you click Add Site, and then Create New Site. And we are going to create a site for today's class, and we're going to call it Beginning Webinar. And I said, Bluehost was giving me problems earlier. Hopefully it's not going to continue to give me problems on the day we're doing the demo. I don't have any recommendations for tutors that work one-on-one with WordPress.org. Janice, do you know of any? I do not. Yes. And actually, if you go to WordPress.org, there are actually good Under resources, there's, if you're going to learn, there is actually some good classes in here for how to learn. You know, there's webinars and that type of thing here also for learning WordPress. There's also on Udemy, there's some good training classes on Udemy for basic WordPress. I do have to say, I've generally had really good luck with Bluehost. It's been very good and stable, but today it seems to know we were having a class and decided to So you're having Bluehost issues too? Hmm. Hmm. Okay, I'll let this run, and we'll go over more of the content. I'm very sorry if this is going to be a problem because the class will not be as interesting without the demos. Okay, so you already have a WordPress website. You're going to be completely revamping it for different purposes. Is there a way to quickly wipe the existing template? So I guess I'm gonna ask you, when you say wipe it for a different existing template, you can delete the whole site. Now, I don't know what, again, hosting service you're using, but like in Bluehost, you can go down, and I would show you on if I could, but there's an option to delete the site. Like whenever I teach the beginning website class, before the next one, I go in and delete the old class that I had set up for the previous class and then start over. If you mean like just get rid of all the content, you certainly could do that also. But you should have a way just to from your hosting site to just delete your existing site and create a brand new site. Okay. All right. I don't know that this is going to come up, so let's yeah, you can change your domain name too. If you have an existing site and you want to change your domain name, again, you generally have to contact the people who own the domain name, and you get like a key, and then you apply it to the existing site. Depending on the content management system, there's different ways to do that. The slides will be sent after the class, but there's generally a different way to do that. It can take up to like usually 24 hours for the new domain name to be completely associated with the website. We do it all the time, and the Digital Connect program is assign domain names to either existing websites or, you know, the websites we build for people. Okay, all right, I'm gonna let that spin. and go back to presenting. And I do apologize that this is behaving this way. Okay, if we had gotten in and created our website, right, we would have seen our dashboard. And the dashboard and the menus are extremely important for building and interacting with your WordPress site. It really is where you're going to maintain your site and build your site and interact with your site. This isn't the same as the menu you're going to add to your site. This is your administrative menu for WordPress itself. And so this is kind of what the overall picture looks like. I'm going to talk about this on the next page, and I would generally go over this in the next demo, but I'm afraid we're not going to get there. What you'll see on this page are what they call widgets, which is not the same as a WordPress widget, just to make it fun. So the widgets you're going to see in this dashboard, you're going to see some that are put here by your plugins, right? So like this widget for the WooCommerce setup is just that. It's giving you information about WooCommerce, which is a plugin that I've had added to this site that I pulled this picture from. You're also going to see information from your hosting site. Like I said, this is a Bluehost site, and it's giving me information about their Creators Award, how to protect yourself from phishing. There's also a widget on here that's giving me information about WordPress itself. Now, if you could scroll down, and we'll talk about this when we get to the next slide, there's going to be more information on here. Yeah, so here we go. There should be an overview of your site, which would show you like your theme, your number of pages, your number of posts, and the comments, information about the comments on your site. To access your dashboard once your site's built, you would go to https:// the name of the domain that we just gave it when I tried to build the site /wp_admin. And again, it's where you access and manage your site's content. Again, this is where you can manage your posts and comments. You can approve or unapprove a comment. You can reply to a comment, delete a comment. You can see the WordPress news, right? Some of that information I kind of pointed out on the other screen. The menu is, again, where you build and maintain your own site, right? So some of the places where you're definitely going to be in and out of quite a bit are under settings are general. And here you can add a tagline to your site, and you probably want to add a tagline to your site. So if you had a bakery and it was Martha's Muffins, you might want to add a tagline that said something like, where everything tastes great, right? So it's kind of like a little motto for your site is the tagline. You definitely probably want to, one of the first things you want to do is go in and check the time zone and set it to your own time zone. Generally, every time I build a website, it comes in as Greenwich Mean Time. And I don't know about you, but I generally don't think of the time in Greenwich Mean Time. To make the changes are WordPress address and site address. So again, you probably want to leave those alone and not modify them unless you really have done your planning, you backed up your site, you've done all your homework to make sure you know exactly what you need to do to make those changes. The reading menu option is where you would set your home page, what page should be your home page and what page should be your post page. So once you build a really nice landing page, you would go in here and point that page to be your home page. You also set your permalinks, and your permalinks is the URL address for all your pages and posts, right? And it's meant to be a permanent URL, right? So you can change the setting, and you definitely want to think about it when you're setting up your site. Because by default, I think it basically just numbers it. So this is like URL 1, URL blah, blah, URL 2, and that's not good for SEO, right? Because SEO does look at those URLs. It's a big factor in your SEO. So you probably want to make it like the name of the post or something like that. You can change it later, but when you do change it later, the permanent structure for all the index links become obsolete, and search engines really don't like that, right? So it's best made at the beginning of your website build. Now, if you have a particular page or a particular post, or even if you want to do this on all new pages and posts, you can override the permalink, right? So if you want to absolutely make sure that your keywords are in your URL for your pages in your post, you can override it for each individual page, and that's perfectly fine, will not hurt anything. But going back and changing it for the whole site, just understand that there is kind of a consequence of doing that. So here you can also, there are the settings for comments. Comments can help drive your engagements for your site. So you can, here is where you can say, let all comments go through without me having to approve them. Make it so I'm going to approve every comment. As I was saying earlier, you can say, if I've already approved a user's comment, then let all other comments go through. So you really kind of need to think about how you want to do this, because there are a lot of spam out there. And comments can help drive your engagement on your site, but you always have the issue of spammers, right? So you want to make sure you have a really good anti-spam activated, right? And the SCME is probably automatically installed when you install it. It generally comes with a lot of those one button installs. If not, make sure you get a good anti-spam program, right? And there's going to be 3 different types of comments you're going to get, right? You're going to get good comments, right? Somebody who's actively engaging with the post you have out there. You're going to have spam comments, and those are going to be comments where, you know, they're trying to sell something for their own site, or they're, you know, adult sites or pharmaceutical sites, where you're just going to, you don't want to delete those. You want to mark them as spam, so your spam filters help get improved, because hopefully you're not seeing your spam. Hopefully it's already getting filtered, but if you are seeing the spam, mark it as spam so the spam filters know what to pick up. And then you're going to have bad comments, and bad comments are ones where the people are using foul language, where it has nothing, a comment that has nothing to do with the post you made. Or sometimes you're going to comment where it's just super flattering, really just tells you how wonderful you are, doesn't really add to the dialogue of the post. And it's always really nice to be told how awesome we are, but a lot of times people just do that to get their foot in the door of your website, hoping that you'll approve that comment, and then their next comments might be all spammy, might be all adult sites, the links to adult sites, links to pharmaceutical sites. And if you get enough bad comments, like people start really spamming you and you get a lot of that kind of sludge on your site, Google will mark you as living in a bad neighborhood, and your SEO will go down a lot. So like I said, it's nice that people compliment us, but it doesn't really help with the dialogue of your site. So you may want to consider those bad comments too, and just put them in the trash. The appearance section, right? That's where you can set your themes. Some themes will be installed as soon as your website's built. One will be active, right? By default. You won't lose your content when you change your themes. Themes and content are separate. So you can change your themes. You may need to do cleanup of your content, because especially with the widget sections, because some might have a sidebar widgets, others might not. So suddenly that information you had in your sidebar, if your next theme doesn't have it, it looks gone. It's not really gone, it's just not being displayed. So you might need to move that someplace else. And once you have your site up and running, it's really good practice to delete any extra themes you have on your site, and also to keep all your themes up to date, right? Because hackers will look for old versions of themes to hack into your site. And the same is true for plugins or anything else you have on your site. You want to keep users and maintain your users. Right? Let's see if WordPress is no. Okay, so we would normally do a demo. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do the demo. So I do apologize. Do we have any more questions? Looks like we do. Yep, again, there will be a link to the recording. And there is already one out in our YouTube area where there are the demos. So you may want to look at that one as opposed to 10 slow down a website. And there's not necessarily an average optimized, but what you want to absolutely make sure of is you don't have any unnecessary plugins, or you're not having plugins just to have a cool feature that's not really necessary to your site, right? Like responsiveness. So it's hard to say if there's an average number that's necessary. Okay, let me look at the chat window. I keep freezing. I'm sorry. Janice, can you put the YouTube channel in the chat window where our YouTube videos are stored? Can you hear me, Garba?
Oh yeah, I can hear you. Sorry, can you come again because it keeps freezing from your end?
Okay, I dropped the Bluehost, so I'm hoping that will help. Okay, Bluehost does not have an integrated scheduling function, right? There are different scheduling plugins you can add to WordPress to do scheduling. Okay, and so out on this channel, you'll find the previous version of this webinar that was done and does have the demos in there. No, I don't think the spam filter works with the contact us button. You probably should reach out to Constant Contact and check how you do the filtering for the spam for them, because the spam filters really work with the comment section directly. Okay. Right, that's right. Bluehost is the hosting, and WordPress is the content management software. That's how they tie into each other. So when we looked at that site, the hosting is Bluehost, and WordPress is the content management system. And I'm sorry, I'm freezing. It's very sorry that this had this issue today. All right. Any other questions? If not, we'll go ahead and restart.
Okay, just give me 1 minute.
You okay, Gabriel? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm trying to get the survey link so that I can post it up.
Oh, we have a little bit more content to go over.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so we've talked about now how to build your site and the content and how to navigate. So what would you put? So now that you have your content and everything, where do you put it? So the main pages where you put it would be on pages and post, right? So pages are where you put your static content. Some examples would be an About Us page, a Contact Us page, product listings, and blogs. And this is kind of what if we could.
Okay, guys, we are so sorry today. I think our present. Hello, Sheila. Yeah, I think our presenter is having some difficulties from her end. I think she's having some technical issues. Her internet.
Can you
Sheila?
not hear me?
Yeah, it was still freezing again.
Oh, I don't have anything else running besides the PowerPoint presentation now. Yeah. Okay. Okay, we'll try and go through. So this is what your pages would look like. Posts are where you have, so when you create your pages, you should definitely have titles and meta descriptions to help your SEO and help your search engine optimization. Themes determine some of the functionality of building the pages, but in general, to create pages, you can use either the block editor or patterns. And the block editor is also called the Gutenberg editor. So if you're around a lot of WordPress, people, you can make sure you sound impressive or you know what they're talking about if they talk about the Gutenberg editor. You can which are tools to help make the building of pages easier, because they make it simpler to add blocks and do fancy things like rotating blocks and that type of things. So what are blocks? They're components for adding pre-designed content to your website. It's how we edit posts and pages and other areas within our website. And they're code that enables media-rich layout. Certain plugins will add new blocks, such as WooCommerce will add product-based blocks, such as you can add blocks to display your items that are on sale or your top-selling items. And patterns are a way to quickly add, a style to your site with like a picture and blocks or multi-level columns, just all at once. And for additional, you will see, if I could do the demo, I would show you where you can find the patterns, but they are up in the top. You can see blocks and then you'll see patterns. And for additional patterns, you can go to wordpress.org/patterns. Posts are different than pages. They're like your blog or your news section of your site. And they're used for dynamic content. So content that's always changing, always being added to. And they add kind of fresh content constantly to your site. And they're chronological by date, but you can add a sticky post. You can add multiple sticky posts, but then pretty much everything's all up at the top. It's like if everything's the most important, nothing is, right? But it's good maybe to have a sticky post. It's like describes your company or, describes what else they're going to see in the blog. Your post should have clear and engaging text. You can have feature images. They can be categorized by categories and tags. And the difference between categories and tags is categories, you should have really just one category per item. You can add more, but really you shouldn't. And tags are non-hierarchical, and you can have multiple tags for a single post. So an example would be if you had a clothing store, you could have categories such as shirts, pants, and dresses, where your tags might be like eco-friendly, recycled material, and biodegradable. So a shirt couldn't be pants, but a shirt could be both eco-friendly and biodegradable. Okay, and that's pretty much what I would want to cover, but I would like, I'm sorry we can't do the demos. It would really show you how all these things kind of fit together. So let's see what questions we have. Do web hosting third parties provide website management? Generally not. I mean, some do it as a side, like you can pay extra and they might provide third-party management. There are some companies that provide both the web hosting and management of your website. Is there an additional service for website maintenance? Yes, there is generally a extra charge for website maintenance if you're talking about them. Well, if you're talking about them going in and automatically updating your plugins and your like automatically, you can set it so to automatically update your plugins and your themes and your maybe even your WordPress. There's not generally an additional charge for that if you go with a a reputable hosting company. But if you're talking about them going in and like making changes to your website for you, then yes, there's an additional charge for that. How do you manage your email and clients message on your website? Well, that's not really covered in this class. Yeah, how to manage your email. I think we may have it in different classes, but that's not covered in this class, how to manage your email. And considering I'm having so many issues, I really can't demo that for you. So I do apologize. Okay, any other questions? Again, I do apologize for the issues we're having today. Our next class is next week, and hopefully we will not have these issues. Where we're going to go over picking a theme, changing your theme, customizing your site, plugins, how to add them, how to review them, and media, how to add pictures to your site, different places to get media. So hopefully I'll see you then. And thank you for joining us today, and thank you in advance for completing our brief survey. Garba, if you want to talk to them about the survey.
Yeah, sure. Hi guys. Once again, thank you for keeping up with us. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the presentation, Sheila. Just as my presenter rightly said, we are so sorry for the breaks, some of the breaks in transmission we had during the presentation. However, I just posted a 30-second survey about today's webinar, where we at Temple SBDC, we always cherish your feedbacks, even as it helps us in improving the services we provide to you guys at a no cost. So kindly take 30 seconds of your time to help us and fill out the survey link. Sheila?
Okay, and Janice posted in the chat that there's going to be an email marketing webinar in March and April for the person who asked about managing your emails for your clients. And someone had asked if we had a list of the basic requirements for a website stand-up. I can have that. I can have that sent out along with the PowerPoint slides. We do have a document called Starting Your Website, which kind of goes through a checklist of the things you would need just in general for starting a website, your pages and your SEO, things to think about. So we'll send that out along with the PowerPoint presentation. Okay.
Thank you guys. I think in the absence, Sheila.
Yep. Along with when you get your presentation, you also see we have a QR code so that you can scan it and see our upcoming events, such as the email marketing campaign, and also we can sign up for our newsletter and how to contact us. So thank you all very much for joining today, and sorry we couldn't do the demos.
Yeah. Thank you guys, and do enjoy the rest of your day. Bye-bye.